topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Well, good to have you with us. Bill Martinez here. For more information on the show, you can check it out, BillMartinezShow.com. Got a real treat for you today. We've got John Catsimatidis with us. Amongst many things, John is a media mogul. He's involved in baseball. He's an owner, a franchise owner, an incredible success story. But for 6 months, John could be running for president. And you know what? But for the 6 months, let me tell you, John, if anybody could win the presidency, even in today's triggered environment that it is, I believe John could win. He's just an incredible personality, and you're going to hear more about his personal story. John, his new book is How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common Sense Billionaire. And he's all of that. He's common sense. He's very wealthy. And, it's really an honor to have John with us to talk about his background. I've often told, my staff and others that I've had the honor to mentor along the way. I've often said that, look, if you want to be successful, do what successful people do. And you're going to get it from the horse's mouth as to what made John Catsimatidis so successful. In fact, the final chapter and departation of his book for all of us to read is like 15 key topics. I mean, this is something that you would want to give to your kids. And you could take credit for it. And John wouldn't mind. He wouldn't mind if you took credit for it, because they are such solid gold nuggets of wisdom that you could pass on to your kids. And I'm sure a lot of them are things that your parents taught you, maybe your grandparents along the way. But John has taken the time to kind of sit down and lay it out. And as he says in the book, you can take these golden nuggets and extrapolate, make them your own. And of course, that's what makes them so special, because when you make them your own, this is about why we tell stories, because the stories are our own stories. And as I said, but for 6 months, John could have been a president of the United States, because he came here in America, ends up in New York with his family 6 months after his birth, and a small Greek island that has just such rich history and story all about it. Now, I'm talking a little bit more as we're waiting for John, because John's one of those personalities that everybody loves him. And I knew he was going to take a lunch break before he came to the show, but he's the kind of personality that he doesn't go unnoticed. And he's also so congenial that he'll talk to everybody. And I'm sure his people are just going nuts trying to get him. It's almost like this is a scene from Broadcast News, if you remember that movie, where, people are just running to get the story on the air, and, bending under file cabinets and everything like that. And I can imagine this is probably a little bit of what's happening in John's office right now. But he'll join us in just a few moments, and you'll be able to hear the great wisdom and stories. And look at just like that. He comes on and he pops up like that. John, they finally let you go, right?
I tell you, I ran across the street. Don't forget, it's lunchtime in New York.
I know it.
You guys are eating breakfast. I was eating lunch, and I took the last bite, and I ran across the street from that famous Smith & Wollensky steakhouse.
Oh, wow, yeah. So
I
owe you a makeup lunch, John.
All right.
I'll take. It'll be on me next time we get together in New York, because I tell you, I never lived in New York, always wanted to. Years ago in my broadcast career, had an opportunity to work at WNBC TV, and I was looking forward to it, but we just couldn't.
The old RCA building.
Yep, exactly. Couldn't land on the right money deal. You know how that works, John. And so I stayed in Los Angeles, but but my heart's always been I love New York. It saddens me right now where New York is at, but I'm like you. I'm very optimistic about New York.
Well, New York, we love New York. It's the greatest city in the world, and everybody's been through New York. 1 out of 8 Americans, when you say the word Brooklyn, 1 out of 8 Americans are connected to Brooklyn in some way. Everybody knows the Statue of Liberty. Everybody knows the George Washington Bridge. Everybody knows Gristedes is the place to shop in New York.
Right.
And look, I hate to see New York die. And New York is on the verge of dying. Look at what happened in San Francisco.
Yes.
San Francisco is dead.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, it's so sad. I love that song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And every time I was in San Francisco, I had a great time. Yeah. Chicago is dying. They're killing Chicago. Yeah. Philadelphia. I talked to Eddie Rendell, the old governor there, the other day. It's dying. Yeah. Baltimore, they're rolling up the sidewalks. And when Mayor Adams became mayor of New York, and he's a black mayor, a good guy, used to be an NYPD, used to be working the transit police department. And you know what I said? I said, if you straighten out New York and show them how a big city has to be run, and give the leadership to the Democrats in the other big cities, Chicago, San Francisco, maybe you could make it up to president someday. But everybody needs something to hope for.
Exactly.
And they gave him hope. Mm-hmm. But right now, there's 51 city council seats coming up for election this November. 51 out of 51. What does that mean? Everybody's up for election.
That's right. Exactly.
And if New Yorkers don't get up and vote, then they can blame themselves for killing New York. Yeah. And if you look at the, you know what I play on my 5 o'clock show? Exodus. Yeah. Because everybody's leaving New York.
Hey, they're coming down. They're coming down. They're coming down to my hood down in Florida, John. In big numbers.
Well, I spoke to my friend Jimmy Petronis, who's the CFO of Florida. Uh-huh. Their revenues are straight up.
Yes.
New York City, straight down. They're going to be off by 20%. They're arguing about the budget. How are you going to pay for the budget if your revenues are going to be down 20%?
Exactly. Well, but John, see, this is the thing that we're seeing across the country. The blue states are getting pulverized because they've embraced this blue state mentality, and it's chasing businesses away. I left California 15 years ago. I was born and raised in California. It makes me sad. Like I said, I love New York. Every year around Christmas time, as a tradition, our family would go there. We would see, in 7 days, we'd see 10 Broadway plays. And
I look forward to the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center.
Right.
It's Christmas has begun when you see the decorations at Rockefeller Center and the Christmas tree going up. And I got tears in my eyes that right now New York is struggling, and we better fix it. It's now or never.
But John, you know as well as I do, it requires leadership. This is why people like yourself are so key to this, because you can do this. Because for you, it's not about a Republican Party. It's not about the Democrats. It's about the America that you and your family came to when you were 6 months old.
110% right. And you know who loves America even more than some of the people that were born here? Is the immigrants that came from the other side. It's the Venezuelans, the Russians that left Russia that lived under communism, the Venezuelans that lived under socialism the last 20 years. The Cubans are looking to escape, but they love New York even better.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's a clear difference, John. There's a clear difference from where they came. As I was talking with your friend, Mayor Suarez down from Miami, who met with you and you connected us. And I've been insisting for years that, we have spring break down at South Beach in Miami every year. I'm saying, hey, take those kids, go to Calle Ocho down there and have them meet up with the Cubans that are exiled from, from Cuba, they'll give you a history lesson that you'll never be able to get at any of the top-notch universities in the country.
Absolutely correct. And, people have to realize, and they don't realize it. They're just walking around saying everything is going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. America is under attack. The fentanyl problem from the Mexican coast. The Chinese gangs are giving fentanyl to the Mexican gangs, and they're just walking over the border.
Yeah.
Like there's no border. They're just walking over. Listen, Bill, 10,000 Americans are dying a month from those Mexican drugs, from the fentanyl.
Well, it's Mexican and communist, CCP. It's part of their their line, bringing fentanyl into this country. It starts in China. It's manufactured in Mexico. You're exactly right, John. And then it comes here into our country, killing our kids.
And now the border's being opened the way, besides the fentanyl. I understand that there could be people that were in jails in South America coming through the border. There are people that are possibly terrorists coming through the border. I mean, sooner or later, we're going to have a problem.
Oh.
And what are we going to do? Why is the president of the United States not protecting our borders?
Yeah.
They're just walking over the borders.
Exactly.
I mean, and then the Department of Homeland Security is telling people, oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's true.
Exactly. Yeah. We're talking with John Catsimatidis. We're going to be getting a deeper dive into his new book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common Sense Billionaire. And you're getting a sense of John's heart here as we're talking America and all that he's been able to experience. And this is just common sense sort of stuff, is that you've got to run this country like a business, and you cannot go and allow your boundaries to be violated to the degree. John, it's like America and our government right now, the bureaucracy, are on two different agendas. And as you know from business, is you set up a system, you set up an infrastructure to give you a desired result. If that desired result doesn't happen, well, you change. Here in America, it's like craziness. It's that old saying, of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results. And this is where the Democrats are at right now.
If we were running our businesses, if we were running our companies the way Washington is trying to run our country, we'd be broke.
Yes.
And we're headed that direction right now.
Exactly.
I mean, America is under attack in so many directions. I mean, the OPEC nations hate us for some reason.
Well, John, you got a president talking ill of one of their treasured elements, oil, and he shuts down our pipelines. He talks ill of them, and he's really distanced himself. I mean, he's not very charming when it comes, to the Saudis or people overseas, like this. But he's doing the same thing that Barack Obama did, and Donald Trump came in. He healed up and he did some curing of the damage. But then now here we are. We're back to the old management again, and so it shouldn't be any big surprise.
Well, let me tell you, America is under attack in many directions. The other direction we're under attack is our universities.
Yes.
I mean, when I went to the university, the purpose of going to the university is to learn what's going on in the world, learn both sides of it, and let the kids make their own decisions, exactly, what's right and wrong. Right now, our universities, the Chinese are putting a lot of money into them. They are buying loyalty to the Chinese versus loyalty to America.
Yeah. Well, John, I know you know this. I mean, you know what China's done overseas with the Belt and Road Initiative. In a sense, they're doing the same thing here in America in a little bit different way, whether it's the 40-some Confucius centers at these universities that you're talking about. It's capturing elected officials in our government that are beholding. The NBA is beholding to the CCP. I mean, we saw that quite clearly when you saw LeBron James make a statement about Taiwan. And boy, that vapored real quick, didn't it?
Well, and I don't understand. I'm trying to get Robert Kennedy on the phone to see what he meant by the statement he made that they put out the vaccine in such a way where it favors the Jews versus and the Chinese. I don't understand what he meant by that. I said to him, because I know the family for 40 years, 50 years. I said to him, you have to explain what you mean by that.
Right. Exactly. Well, this is the problem. Whenever you go down that road, it's a deep rabbit hole, John, as you know, when we talk about COVID, because in fact, I just had a meeting with my doctor this afternoon or this morning, and I said, look there's so much misinformation out there that we don't know who to trust. Things that, we thought Dr. Fauci knew everything. Then we find out that he doesn't. And then we start seeing that just as the Chinese have elite captured our elected officials. Dr. Fauci is elite captured. He's not captured to the American people and looking out for their best interests, in my humble opinion, based on the actions that he's done, John.
Well, the question with Dr. Fauci is, and I'm the first one to have him on my show like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. No. I know that they were playing it all over the internet about my interview with him. Mm-hmm. Did Dr. Fauci know and he lied to the American people? Or did Dr. Fauci trust the Chinese and they lied to him? It's either one or the other, because the American people did not know. My biggest question is when COVID became, we knew about it.
Yes.
The Chinese stopped flying their airplanes within China. In other words, they isolated the city where the COVID was and they flew 0 airplanes
to
other provinces in Canada from that city. But what did they do? They kept the airplanes coming to New York. They kept the airplanes going to that place in Italy, knowing that the people on those airplanes have COVID.
Yeah. Well, they were like
human. Guilty of murder because they spread those germs to New York. They spread those germs to Italy, and it's wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
Why did the Chinese stop flying it within China?
Because they knew.
See, that is plain American truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And where's the WHO to figure this out? But the WHO is captured by the CCP, and they're not interested. They're not curious about it. Our mainstream media is not curious about it. John,
somebody killed 1 million Americans.
Yes.
Because that Chinese, those airplanes kept flying, and the Chinese knew those people were sick coming to America.
Well, and to your earlier point, you didn't quite directly say this, but I believe only because I was aware that Dr. Fauci knew there was problems in Wuhan. They had invested money against the directive of then President Barack Obama. Barack Obama says, I don't want you to invest in it. But Dr. Fauci was interested in the topic. And so he went ahead and invested money in there, into the Wuhan laboratory. He had to have an idea, if nothing else, even a distant idea, that there was a possibility that it came out of there, because his own people came back, to the United States and said, these guys are a bunch of cowboys. They're going to make a mistake here because they're reckless.
Well, the American people suffered. 1 million Americans died, and so many families suffered.
Yes.
Because either Dr. Fauci was conned, or he was stupid, or he knew about it and let it happen.
Yeah.
One of those it's got to be true.
Exactly. Well, it's the same thing with your former governor. What did he do with 15,000 elderly in putting them all in the homes there, in the senior homes, killing, thousands, over 15,000 seniors were killed. And look, I get it. When something like this breaks out and you don't have a lot of information, you do the best you can. I get that, John.
I said to Governor Cuomo, he has to find out, give everybody the proper response on why those people went to those homes. Now, I know we have a law firm advertising on WABC right now, saying that it wasn't mandatory to go to those homes, or it wasn't XYZ. And all I want, the American people, New Yorkers, want the truth.
Exactly.
And we got to get down to the bottom of the truth.
You're exactly right, John. We got to go to break. We'll be right back. We'll pick it up from there. More from John Catsimatidis after this. Stay with us.
Thank you.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-823-9853. 800-823-9853. 800-823-9853. That's 800-823-9853.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Deutsch, and if you or your business owe money to the IRS, I've got great news for you. Tax laws have changed. Billions of dollars are earmarked for IRS Fresh Start programs, and if you qualify, you can literally save tens of thousands of dollars. Listen, I know what you're going through. Call me if you want to speak with a tax attorney or tax professional for free.
800-247-1498. That's 800-247-1498.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
"You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa."
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
President Biden recently released a massive $6 trillion budget, the largest budget in U.S. history. And guess who pays the bill? That's right, you, the American taxpayer. American citizens and business owners will be paying more taxes. That's a fact. And if you owe back taxes, they will be coming after you to collect payments. In fact, President Biden also hired thousands more IRS agents to go after you. If you got a letter from the IRS and you know you owe back taxes or you haven't filed in years, don't put your head in the sand. Call us today. We've saved our customers millions of tax dollars. One quick, free phone call will show you how we can reduce your past tax bill and save you thousands. Guaranteed, or you pay nothing. Call now.
800-932-1597. 800-932-1597. That's 800-932-1597. Paid for by the Tax Helpline.
Well, the question is, how far do you want to go, huh? We've got lessons from a common sense billionaire. His brand new book, John Catsimatidis, is with us. And, of course, such is our interest, as you can tell, between both John and I, both immigrants, in his sense, just an incredible story that we're going to get into right now. And just an awesome success story. John, there are so many success stories like yours, but yours is your story alone. I mean, here you were, as I was reading your book, I guess you were conceived as Italian, but born a Greek because of where we were in World War II?
Yes, those islands along the Turkish coast were part of Italy from 1905, 06 till 1947, 48. When I was conceived Italian, and the Italians want to give me an Italian passport or EC passport. Yeah. And I'm a member of the famous Columbus Club in New York, which is the famous Italian club. And I'm 28% Italian according to my DNA. But when I was born a Greek because the Brits were upset. Italy was on the wrong side in World War II. They were on the German side.
Yeah.
So to punish Italy, they took all those islands away from Greece, from Italy.
Italy, yeah.
Gave them back to Greece.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, Greek food, Italian food, I love it both.
Yes. You're only partially conflicted, but what a great story. Tell our audience what it was like, for you. I mean, it's like the movies. I mean, I'm reading this and it's Greek weddings, passion, small island, just lovely people. I mean, it's you just get caught up in the romance of it all.
Greeks. I mean, they know how to live, they know how to eat.
Yeah.
And that's important. My father spoke fluent Italian, worked for the Italian government for 17 years to earn a few lira to feed his 3 sisters and his mom.
Yeah.
And my mother, there's a long story about getting married, and we're going to write the sequel to the book that we have now is going to be about my mom and how she was raised and how she came to marry my father, who, you remember the song, If I Was a Carpenter and You Were a Lady, would you marry me anyway?
Right, exactly.
This is the story. My father was a laborer. He worked working the lighthouse.
Yeah, he was a lighthouse worker with goats. He had goats. He's my kind of guy. He's got goats in the lighthouse.
And my mother was from Constantinople, a sophisticated lady, an educated lady. But her brothers could not get married unless she was married. She was jilted by this guy. Her family sent to Athens to become a lawyer. So to release her brothers to get married, she married my father. If I was a lady and you were a carpenter, would you marry me anyway? Would you have my baby? Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm the baby.
There you are. Exactly. But the option that your mom had was because of being jilted, and this was tough, and you can't blame her. I mean, here she's investing in the guy and she's, earning money to get him through law school and leaves her at the altar. I mean, he doesn't even have the nerve. He sends a letter.
He never showed up at the altar.
Sends a letter.
The ferry boat comes and she's waiting on the dock for him. And there's no cell phones, there's no regular phones, there's no telegraphs. There's an old island in the middle of the Aegean Sea, right next to the island of Kos. Yeah. And there's the captain. The captain gives her a letter from the guy. He says, I fell in love with somebody else. I'm not coming.
Yeah. Well, see, John, maybe that was God's way of protecting you, because otherwise you'd have been an attorney.
Me? I would have been non-existent. No, my 2 grandfathers came to America in 1913, looking for the streets paved with gold.
Yes.
But they didn't tell anybody. It took me 100 years to find it.
They knew somewhere underneath there was gold to be had.
Gold someplace.
Yeah, exactly. So, but your grandmother gives your mother the choice, because here she's depressed. It's a year. You say in your book, it held up like 10 different weddings. And the Greeks, when they have weddings, they have weddings. I mean, it's like, they're painting that.
But the problem is,
it up, right, John?
About it in the book, there was only one suit. So every week they would adjust the suit so they could have a wedding. And every week there was like 8 or 10 people stuck that couldn't get married. So they only had one suit.
Oh, wow.
So every week they had one wedding, and they adjusted the suit to fit the groom. and 10 people. My mother, by getting married to my father, freed like 9 other couples or 10 other couples so they can get married too.
It was a tsunami of weddings, of Greek weddings going on there. The deal, but John, go back to what your grandmother told her, because it says, look, you're holding up all these weddings and you got a choice. If you become a nun, you'll be liberated from the tradition of the oldest has to be married before, and you do it down line, right?
Yes.
And so that's why all the weddings were being held up, because she either had to get married or your mom said you could be a nun. And she thought not. And then we find out here your soon-to-be father, who's a lighthouseman, a very simple man with goats, and I mean he's living life and providing for himself on this small little island that handles the lighthouse, right?
And it's the island of Nisyros, Nisyros. There's only 2 volcanic islands in Greece. Santorini, that everybody knows,
yes,
and Nisyros. Those are the 2. And a lot of successful people. But there's only about 600, 700 people left on the island of Nisyros. And in the society club they have in New York, there's 6,000. So everybody left. They came to New York. They came to New York. They came to Toronto. They came to St. Petersburg, Tampa in Florida. I mean, but the island is a beautiful island. Whenever I'm there, I feel it in my heart. And I smile and I look up in the sky to my forefathers. And by the way, Bill, you know who's buying most of these books? The books are being bought by grandfathers, grandmothers. They're being bought by fathers, mothers, and they give it to their kids.
Yeah.
In hope that they're going to find a couple of sentences, a couple of things of how to become successful.
Exactly.
And they're hoping that their kids or grandkids become successful too. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm pushing. And that's what I'm pushing the kids in the inner cities. And I'm giving away a lot of books to universities and police athletic leagues because we want them to aspire to inspire them to become winners.
Exactly.
And that's what we need to do in our inner cities. The kids are suffering. They're suffering.
Yeah.
You know, when I ran for mayor in New York, I ran as, I was a Bill Clinton Democrat. Then then my daughter married President Nixon's grandson. So to keep peace on the Thanksgiving table, I converted to becoming like Ronald Reagan did.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Why not?
Republican, but I ran like Rudy Giuliani, like John Lindsay. I ran as a Republican liberal. Why liberal? Because our kids, our own American kids in the inner cities are suffering, and there's nobody there helping them.
Exactly.
So, and that's the difference between a liberal helping the American kids of our inner cities and a socialist that wants to destroy America.
Exactly. And John, you know the potential that's in these kids. You saw it in yourself. You've seen it in family members throughout your whole life. Before we connected in the first segment of the show, I shared with people that a lot of people get your book and they go to the final chapter because you've got those 15 golden nuggets. And I told people, I said, even John invites you to rewrite them, own them yourself, share them, because a lot of these things that you share, I'm sure their grandparents, I'm sure as parents, they shared with their kids, but it's something special to hear it from somebody like yourself, and they can rewrite and own these.
Moses had the 10 commandments.
Yes.
I'm having the 16 tips. Some people are putting it in a frame and putting it up on their office and look at it often and say, well, refer to clip number 1. Okay, the first one was if you're scared of losing, you can't win.
That's right. Right.
Yeah, you have to. And that's why when I became most successful is before I had children. Because when you have children, you have a higher authority you got to take care of those children.
That's right.
So if I was going to lose at the age of 30 with no children, so I'd start over again and I'll make it again.
That's right.
But once I had children, I became a little more responsible. The entrepreneur lives at the edge of the cliff. You want to climb that next mountain. And I want to climb that next mountain. And now that we want to take over, we'd love to get involved with CNN. We'd love to get it.
John, that's perfect, because I want to talk to you about that and your future dreams, because it ain't over. John Catsimatidis is with us. We're going to a quick break. We've got more from John right after this. Stay with us.
Thank you.
I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who help people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Do you use pesticides in your job? Specifically Roundup. Roundup, made by Monsanto, contains a chemical called glyphosate, which has been linked to cancer. If you've used Roundup and you have cancer, you may be entitled to a cash award. Over $10 billion has been set aside to pay users of Roundup who've been diagnosed with cancer. Time is almost running out to file your claim. So if you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've used Roundup, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And time to file is almost gone, so please call right now.
800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. 800-890-7088. That's 800-890-7088.
Attention timeshare owners. Tired of the financial stress? Were you misled by the salesperson? Don't or can't use your timeshare anymore? If any of these apply to you, then you may qualify for timeshare cancellation and get the relief you need now. Timeshare Defense Attorneys is the #1 affordable fixed fee legal solution in the country with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. That's certainly better than my grades. They even offer a 100% client satisfaction guarantee. Let one of their experienced lawyers evaluate your case and explain the process. If they take you as a client, they'll work on your case until it's resolved in your favor, guaranteed. Expect great service and a close working relationship with your lawyer, keeping you informed every step of the way, protecting your rights, interests, and even your credit. It's that simple. Even a kid like me can understand it. The consultation is free. Call today.
800-296-1332. 800-296-1332. That's 800-296-1332.
Hey, welcome back. Before we get back with John Catsimatidis, I did want to thank you for those of you who have been supporting our listener-supported campaign for truth and liberty. If you go to BillMartinezShow.com, click on the donate button, whatever it is that God places on your heart, we thank you. Our show is a nonprofit entity. We're under Hill of Hope. It's a 501c3 public nonprofit organization. All donations are tax deductible. Like one of our friends realized, said, hey, Bill, you saved me so much money on my taxes. I realized I could give you and donate for a great cause like truth and liberty and save a bunch on my taxes. I said, well, hey, look I'm glad it's win-win. So hit the donate button, and whatever you so desire to support the cause here, this listener-supported campaign for truth and liberty, I will say thank you. As I say thank you to John Catsimatidis for being with us, and we're talking about his new book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common Sense Billionaire. John, and Bill, for you.
Bill, I love your two symbols about truth and liberty. You know how we sign off our radio show every day at 6 o'clock in New York?
How?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And when I want to be funny, you know what I say? Reporting here from the Daily Planet building.
I was going to say, do you show yourself with a cape, with the flowing in the background?
We open the window so if Superman flies in, he doesn't break the window.
Hey, if anybody could do it, John, it could be you. There's no doubt about it, because as we talked about, it's all about vision. And you've got vision. You have, from your family, you started in the grocery business. You built that up. As you say in your book, real estate for you has been a very, very good thing. You own baseball. You own a baseball team. And now we're talking about CNN. When I read about that, I said, well, if anybody could straighten out the ship at CNN, it would be John Catsimatidis.
It's so sad. Ted Turner
Yes.
Started it about 40 years ago, maybe more. And Ted Turner, he's not well right now, I understand, but they have 400,000 viewers a day.
Yeah.
And that company should have 2 million.
Exactly.
And I certified to them. I said, I'll pay you the difference if I don't get it up to 2 million within a year's time.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to tell the truth, justice, in the American way.
Exactly.
And that's what. Hey, Ted Turner was a left-leaning guy, which is okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has the right to be whatever he wants in America.
Mm-hmm.
But give him a chance to talk, give out the truth to the American people, and that's all the American people want, the truth.
We want a balanced conversation, John, because, as Jordan Peterson would say, is that when you're so siloed and you're talking in your echo chamber, you really render yourself stupid. You limit your intellect. We need the full intellectual capacity of 350 million people now in this country. I mean, why not tap into the totality of that intellectual reservoir?
And the 185 countries that listen to CNN deserve to know the truth.
Exactly.
Don't lie to them.
And how hard, John? How hard is it, John? How hard is the truth?
Very easy. And if people think there's two truths, tell both stories.
Yeah.
And let the listeners or the viewers decide.
Exactly. Yeah, because they deserve that, and they're smarter than that. We definitely saw this, as you mentioned, with COVID. We had all this information, misinformation. You got this current government that's so sensitive about misinformation, and they're the ones. I mean, just on the latest Supreme Court decisions, John, they're putting out misinformation, whether it's that or even on the indictment of President Biden's son.
What I can't believe. The Department of Justice runs the FBI. 99.5% of the FBI agents are honest, hardworking Americans that love America.
Yeah.
But who are the ones that it was sent by certain people at the Department of Justice to the Twitters of the world, to the Facebooks of the world, demanding them that they can't allow certain news on Twitter or allow certain news on Facebook, and they would say to them, chop it off. You can't put it on. Yeah. I mean, who the heck are they to decide what the American people view?
They suppress the vote, John. They suppress the vote.
It's very, very sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so many ways in which the left is doing it, John. They're doing it by force, like utilizing the FBI. They do it by, the NIH having researchers write up, these false. I say they're false. They're unscientific reports about anything, whatever it is. If it's COVID or some other issue that they want, they get these scientists. They pay them with our money to write up these bogus reports, and then they quote it as if it's doctrine. I mean, you can't live this way.
Very sad, and my other problem with education, our education system. Our kids are now number 58 in the world in education.
Crazy.
And in New York, we're spending $28,000 per child to try to educate them. And guess what? There are kids that are not getting educated.
Yes.
John,
if you gave me a semester with those kids, I'd turn it around from night and day. I guarantee you, because I know exactly what to do in one semester. I don't care. Give me the poorest kids. Give me the worst kids that you got there in New York, and I'll turn them around in one semester. I'll guarantee.
We got to save our kids.
Yes.
We have to save our kids from look. There was one guy running in where we live out in Long Island in the weekends.
Mm.
One guy's running for office, and he's being supported. You ready? You're sitting down. He's being supported by the governor of Colorado, who is pushing drugs to everybody in Colorado. I said to him before, because you're being supported by that governor in Colorado, are you going to bring drugs to Long Island?
Yeah. No.
I mean, I said, drugs are killing our kids.
Yeah.
And I said, enough is enough. You're going to dumb down America. How do you say it nice and simple? Dumb down our kids. Because if they take marijuana, which is a gateway drug too, at the age of 12, 14, to the age of 26, when the mind is developing.
Exactly.
They're gonna lose 15% of their intellect. You know what that means? They'll never be millionaires. They'll never be billionaires. There will be failures in life. and those drugs are doing it.
Mhm.
I said, if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, you want to do drugs, have a good time.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Right.
But how do you keep it away from the kids?
Exactly.
Because dumbing down of America. And you know what's happening in New York? They legalized 8 stores to be drugs for marijuana in New York City. 8.
Mm.
You know, 8 legal stores have opened.
Uh-huh. Are they locking the drugs up, John? They're locking up toothpaste, but are they locking up the marijuana?
No, because there's people there with guns watching out for the marijuana.
Right.
And they opened up 2,000 illegal stores. And guess what? They want us to get all this tax money from the 8 legal stores.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying.
Yeah.
They're going to the illegal stores and buying it.
Of course.
I mean, the dumbing down of America. I think these people that make these laws and rules, sometimes they've been dumbed down with all the marijuana in their system.
Well, they operate on all these theories, abandoning the things that brought this country to greatness, John. And that's the deal. The subtitle of your book, you're a common sense billionaire. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You've learned a lot over the years that you share with us in your book, just from, common sense experience. You and I have been in business all our lives, and we understand that experience defines preference. That which works, we keep doing more of, right? If it doesn't work, we go on to plan B.
Absolutely right. If I ran one of my companies, if I ran one of my stores the way they want to run government, it'll be all over. I'd be out of business.
Exactly. John, let me ask you, Donald Trump, he was such a figure in our government. And when I look over the landscape of possibilities and those that are aspiring to run for president, I think it needs somebody like a Donald Trump who is fearless, who is independent, who can really do something. I know Mike Pence says, well, he promised to drain the swamp, but he didn't do it. Well, like what? He can't do it by himself. He needs help, but he knows better now than he did before. And I just don't have the confidence of the other candidates who can go in and straighten the ship out, because you need somebody who can go in and, just kick butt, get it cleaned up, and let's get this country back on track. And
I don't agree with everything Donald Trump does.
Mm-hmm.
I know him for 45 years. We were on charities together. Nobody calls Donald Trump and said, let's go out to dinner tonight. So he's nobody's real friend like that.
Yeah.
But he does have the courage to stand up against the bad guys.
Yeah.
And what I'm afraid of is that they're going to find a way to get him one way or another in the courts.
Yeah.
Why are they chasing the former president of the United States? I mean, who do you think is more likely that was on Russia's side? President Biden or President Trump? Just ask that question. Go to the mirror, look at yourself, and ask that question.
Right. Well, and look what Hillary and the Obama campaign did before. Even that came into question, right? So it's not even clear. It's not even dubious. You know exactly who kept them under check. It was Donald Trump's leadership that did so. He quieted the North Koreans. He quieted China. We were getting money. We're getting $400 billion.
When I was at dinner with them a couple of weeks ago, I went to a dinner they asked me to go to. And you know the story he told? He told, no Americans died in Afghanistan when he was president.
Exactly.
And you know how he did it? He called in the Taliban leader and said, is this a picture of your house? He showed him a thing. Oh, yes, that's my picture of my house. He said to him, does your kids and wife live there? He says, yes. He says, if one American dies, that house is going to be blown to smithereens. You know how to say smithereens in California? Smithereens.
Yes.
Guess what? No Americans died.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they knew he meant business. Sometimes you need a tough guy in there to solve problems.
Well, John, we really do right now. If we're going to get this country back on track, we do have to return to greatness, the things, the seeds, the foundation. And I say first principles. We go back to first principles, re-embrace the Constitution. That document for 247 years has been our roadmap to greatness. It's what brought you and your family to this country and other immigrants who have come to this country that have contributed beyond measure. And this is what has made our country great, and may it continue to be so. John, we got about a minute left. I'm going to let you summarize everything and, again, remind everybody about your book and the 16 golden nuggets that you shared with us at the end.
Well, I told everybody, buy my book. If you buy from WABCradio.com and I signed it, it's worth twice as much if you want to resell it on eBay. Otherwise, you can buy it from Amazon or you can buy it from Barnes and Nobles. And you know, me and Len Riccio, who founded Barnes and Noble, we raised $10 million for Brooklyn Tech High School, our school that we went to, because we wanted to help the future graduates of Brooklyn Tech, buying them new computers when the Board of Education can't afford it. What it's all about, saving America, saving our city, saving our states, saving our country, and saving the world, and help with your kids and grandkids. Help the poor kids. We're willing to donate books to universities. We're willing to donate books to high schools. Bill, they can send you a letter. They can send you an email. If they need a donation of 100, 200 books to any university, I will pay for them. I will send it as long as we can educate our kids.
God bless you. John, I like number 16. Got to have fun. We can have fun again, right?
Absolutely. I look forward to it. I enjoy talking to you, and we're both looking to save America.
John Catsimatidis, you're awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for being with us.
Take
care.
Bill.
God bless.
God bless you. I'm going to go back to lunch.
You got it. Okay. John Catsimatidis' book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common Sense Billionaire. Our thanks to John for coming on today. For more information and to be a part of getting America back on track and making America great again, and I mean that in every sense of the word, not just a political slogan. You know that we can be great again. We got to return to God and to save our country. Go to BillMartinezShow.com. May God bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you. Go and be blessed beyond your imagination. Thanks for being with us.